Hello, my name is Chad DeWolf, and I'm here just to discuss the data team process file version 4.0.0. As you can see, there's a 50 right here at the top, which means that there are 50 slots for you to put in student names for each teacher. There's also a file that has a 100 slot availability for teachers, a 150, and a 200 slot for the high school teachers to enter student names in, and we'll get to that shortly. First, you're going to want to start off by typing in your school name, then the subject and grade level, and then also your data team leader's name up here as well. Next, you're going to want to type in the teacher names here, and then for each teacher name, you'll probably change your roles for each data team process, so you'll want to revisit this tab and choose the drop down to pick whatever your role might be for that data team process cycle. When that's completed, you'll only have to do this one time, because we'll save a master file, and you'll be able to open that file up every single time you start a new data team process, and then just save it as a different file name. As you can see here, if you want to pause, there's some examples right here, along with how to copy and paste names into your cells as well. There's also a navigation trick for the whole data team file. If you look at the bottom left, the arrows, if you right click, and you may not know this, and you may know this, I don't know, but if you right click it, it'll show up all the tab names, so it's very easy just to get to one tab, whatever you're looking for, like that. They are in order of the data team process, so if we go left to right, you'll get through the data team process cycle just by following left to right. Now, when your names are in, you can see that I have just put in names already for all the teachers, student name 1, 2, and 3, and so on, and I left some spaces. If you are not an elementary teacher and you are a middle school or high school or any other teacher that has different classes, not just one class, but you may have different classes, you may want to add some spaces in between your classes to help you determine which class is which class. Now, I would not recommend that you type in class 02 or advanced literature or anything like that, because anything that you type in here into the blue slots is just for student names only. If you type in literature 101, that's going to be counted as a student name. So I would not recommend, and it's going to count against the grades and the goals that you're going to be setting. So please only just put the student names in for each teacher name. I'm going to scroll down so you can see the top 4 at the top there, and then you have your other 4 teachers at the bottom down here as well. When all of your names are typed in, this is when you would want to save the file as your master data team file that you can open every single time, since your student names will be in here. And if you get a student throughout the year, as we all do, you can just enter in the student name once here for the next data team process cycle that you'll be administering. Now, let's move on to the pretest. The pretest tab has this information in gray pulled over from the info tab on the left. But again, you'll see the light blue, and anywhere it's light blue, you want to enter in that information. So you'll enter in your pretest, members present. This section is here mostly to make sure that everyone is present and accounted for, and you may have some other co-teachers that are present as well, or paraprofessionals that you want to include in the members present, or even some administrators for that matter. So that is available as well. We assume that all the teachers will be there to begin with. Then you have your standard or element. I would not recommend writing the whole thing out. I didn't put a lot of space there just for that reason. This is just to say what is your common core standard, if you will, and then make it easy to understand what is your standard really talking about. What are you focusing on with this data team cycle? You can see here that this example is data team number 3. So each time you start a data team process, you'll just put which number you're on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever number it is. Then all of this information here in our table here is going to be blank, or maybe even with zeros, mostly because you won't have any scores in there. When your students, you give the pre-assessment, the pre-test, you'll enter in the scores into this section. There's no typing of student names. They're pulled over from the info tab, and all you'll do is type in the whole number score of their grade. And then what happens is you'll see right now that there's, just on this screen here, there's 4 different arrows. One's pointing up, and then down to the right, straight down, and then up to the right. What those arrows indicate are the different sections here. Exceeds is up, meets is to the right and up, needs improvement is down and to the right, and then far to go is straight down. And the colors, it's also color coded. And I put the numbers in order so that you can see the color code. And if we look at Teacher 1, Dylan McKay, you can see that the highest score is going to be your darkest green. And then you can also see over here for Kelly Taylor, the lowest score is going to be your darkest red. So it's a gradient fill from green to red for all of your scores that are entered in for the pretest, which might help you see, if just by looking at colors, not even scores, you'll be able to see which students are lagging behind and really need more of your attention, if you will. And then your green ones, which ones of those students do you need to accelerate some learning, or pair them up as well. So this is the pretest tab, and all you have to do, once again, is just type in a number here. Now, also, you'll see that some are blank. Student name 5 didn't take the test, student name 45, student name 85. I deliberately left any student numbers that ended with 5. I didn't give them a grade, so you can see what kind of reports are pulled and how our goals are set up when we have students that didn't actually take an assessment. So we're assuming right now that all of the teachers have entered in their grades, and they can do this all at one time, at one meeting, or to save time they can just open the file from their network drive and then enter in their grades when they have a free minute, which is what I would recommend. But we're going to move on now from the pretest tab to go to the pre-data tab. And what this tab is basically showing you is the information from the pretest, but with a nice fancy graph underneath. And it'll tell you the pretest information for each teacher, along with the color coding of where the students fell, so we can look and see which teacher might need more support, or which teacher is doing I wouldn't say doing a very good job, but has students that already come with the information that they know for this pretest. And you can make some determinations as to what to do with this information through your own data team process. This pre-data tab is just informational only. There's nothing to do except understand what your students are telling you through the data that they're providing for you. Now, from the pretest to the pre-data is our pre-reports. On the pre-reports tab, you have your categories here, and now we're able to pull from a drop-down list. We can find out any student's name that falls into a specific category. So if they scored an 80% or higher, they're going to fall into the exceeds category. And then the names just load up here. What's also nice is it tells you how many students are in that category for each teacher, and the total number of students in the category, along with the category percent. So about 25% of these students in this data team cycle exceeded on the pretest, and that's actually kind of high, but this is just an example file. Also, you can see at the top that it pulls in all the information you need to know from the other tabs as well. One new feature is the did not attempt section, and this just lets us know real quick and easy what students still need to retake this test so that we can have a pretest and a post-test assessment grade for these students. And again, as you can see, they're all ending with 5s. It was just an easy way for me to to make sure I got some students' names in there for everyone. You can print these tabs or these reports from this tab as well. It's just a simple print. Choose whichever category you're looking for and then just go to File and Print. It'll be that easy. Once you have this information down and you understand what the students are telling you, you can go to the Analyze Data tab. And this tab, along with the goals and instructional and information and indicators, the next two tabs I guess, is really where our data team process does all the work. Right now we're looking at the actual student work on the pre-assessment, and now we're identifying the strengths and obstacles or weaknesses of what our students are showing us from the pre-test scores, and all we're going to do is type them in. Just because there's 3 slots here doesn't mean you need to have 3 strengths. You may not have any. I would look to see if you can find at least one, because that's always good to know. But the majority of the work here is going to be in obstacles, challenges, and misconceptions, because we should be testing them before they know pretty much really anything or a lot of it before we actually do the teaching. So this is a really good place for us to determine what are they weak in, why do we think they're weak there, and what can we prioritize to hammer down when it comes to the instructional period of the data team process. And this is your Analyze Data tab. So once we've determined that, we can go to the Goals tab. This is kind of neat. What we're doing here is we're pulling all of the student we're totaling the student names in the needs improvement, far to go, and did not attempt categories on the pretest. So Dylan had 12 and Brandon had 43 students in all 3 of those categories combined. As you can see here, let's just look at David Silver. He has 46 students in this category, and he has predicted that 38 of them are going to meet or exceed on the post-test, along with all of the other students that already did. As you can see here, please note it is understood that the students who scored greater than or equal to 70% on the pretest will do the same thing on the post-test. And that actually has been accounted for in your goal setting here. So how do you set a goal? Well, right now, this right here, your Data Team SMART goal, this is set automatically for you once we set your individual teacher goals. Basically, right now, 32.845% are exceeding or meeting on the pretest. And once we set the goal, we have determined that 87% is going to meet or exceed once we're done with this data team process. And this goal is set, and we'll just look at one teacher, and I left it blank for a reason here. We're going to look at Dylan. He had 12 students that needs improvements, far to go, and did not attempt in those 3 categories. And right now, he has 70% of his students meeting or exceeding already. So we're going to look at now underneath here the Dylan's section. You can see here the directions. Mark an X next to the student's name if you believe he or she will score 70% or above on the post-test. So through your teaching and through the week's lessons, do you think that student 5, let's say, is going to pass? Yes, I do. So I'm going to put an X there, and I'm going to keep going down all the way through. Do I believe student 15? Yes. And so on and so on. For time's sake and for computer speed, I'm just going to come back up to the top, and now you'll see that there's this 2 here. So we went from 70% to 75% with those 2 students. That teacher goal was set automatically, and then this goal changes as well for the overall team of Dylan, Brandon, Kelly, Brandon, Steve, Brenda, Andrea, David, and Valerie as their teachers. So each teacher is going to go in and select X's for each student that they believe will pass with a 70% or better on the post-test. You can also see that projected not to pass 10. All that's doing is counting the students that I believed would not pass due to whatever reason it may be. So if I put another X in there, once it's done processing, it's going to say 9 students are projected not to pass. And that's it. All you have to do is put in X's, and your data team goal as a team is set for you here, and then your data team goal as a individual teacher is set for you automatically as well. Your analyze, oh, we did that. Let's go to the next tab. Your instructional strategies. This is actually very important. This is where the bulk of the data team process takes place. You're going to meet with your team, and I don't want to go too much into the data team process, but what you're going to do is fill out information here for effective teaching strategies and activities for your special needs students. So this is just going to be example 1. My computer is running very slow. And then I'll just put some numbers in here just so you can see where this information will be pulled later on in the notebook file. We'll say, hello, this is neat. And as a data team, you're going to determine what you want for each section here for effective teaching strategies, the learning environment, materials for the students and teachers, the time duration, how long, formative assessments, and then underneath you have results indicators as well. And you're just going to answer those 2 questions below as to what you believe those result indicators will look like and how you know they're actually working. And now, after this is all done, you're going to end your data team meeting and you're going to teach for however long you've determined you're going to teach for, and then you're going to give a post-test. When you give the post-test, you will then, just like the pre-test, go to the post-test tab this time and then enter in your post-test score information. You'll need to enter in the post-test date at the top. And again, this will all be blank because we have not put in any scores yet. But you can see here that the only blue sections, we're looking for blue sections to fill in. The only blue sections are in the post section. Your pretest scores are pulled in from the pretest, and the plus minus is empty and the rank is empty as well. And when you put the scores in, that self-populates with a score or rank and a plus or minus depending on what the score is from the pretest to the post-test. As you can see at the bottom for student name 15, student name 15 down here does not have a pretest, but they did take the post-test. Well, there is no plus minus difference, so there's nothing there, and their rank is 12 because the rank is just pulling from the actual post-test score and nothing else. So it's just a determining on the post-test this student was the highest score or the 12th highest score, whatever it may be. So all you do is you put in the scores, the arrows stay the same, they have the same meaning when it comes to the post-test. Arrows going up to the right, 70 to 79%, and so on. So every teacher is going to put in their post-test scores. And then from there, when that is complete, you go to the post reports. This is the same as the pre-reports, but it's just pulling post-test information. And I'm going to scroll over to the right a little bit. And then you can have your team results page pop up. All this is doing is showing you results. There's nothing to do on this page except to look at the data, maybe print it out. It's 3 pages long of information. It has all of your teachers' information put together, and then individual teacher information, or your data from each teacher from pre and post test as well, which you can print out. As you can see here. Now, the teacher results in eval tab, this is where the money is with this whole file. Each teacher can choose their name, and then the results on the page pull the information for that teacher, including their goal, into this file. Now, as you can see on the left, for the special needs, we wrote example 1, and then general 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So that information, your instructional strategies, is pulled from that one tab into your teacher results evaluation tab. So all you have to do, basically, is print this out and turn it in to show documented growth for the whole data team process for yourself and for your team. So we're just going to choose, I don't know, Kelly Taylor. When I choose Kelly Taylor, you can see that the information here populated. Her name is here. Her data team role is here. You have the pre and post test dates. You also have the data team SMART goal. The percent of students who performed within the exceeds or meets category will increase from the percentage of 32.845% to 87.977%. The actual post-test passing rate with exceeds and meets for all students in this data team process was 36%. Obviously, this is not something we would want to see, but just for throwing in numbers here, this is how it works. And then, was the data team goal reached as a team? No. Then, my goal. Well, who is me? I am Kelly Taylor. My goal was 87%. Post-test, I didn't have any kids apparently show up in the exceeds or meets category, so my goal was not achieved either. So let's pick another teacher here, Dylan McKay. Okay, so that's a little bit better. So his post-test, he had 75% of his students on the post-test meet or exceed as well. Then you can see the pre-test totals for each category, the post-test totals for each category, including how many actually did not test. You can see the pre-test percents, the post-test percents, and the growth for there as well. Underneath, if you want to include any information that might be helpful when you print this file out or this tab out, you can type in here as well, and it'll show up on the printout, which is kind of nice, I think. But everything here is printed out and is very easy for you just to hand in, as far as I believe, so hopefully that'll work for you. The next tab is the Reflect tab. This is basically where we interpret the results from the post-assessment. You have 3 different sections here, just to read the questions and type in your responses. It's as simple as that, nothing else to do. You want to do this as a whole team, so you have, all your members are contributing to this process as well. And then the last tab, finally, is the Comments tab, and this is basically for your administrators. If they wish to add comments to this data team process file, they can type their name in at the top, and then the comment date for each administrator, because they might do it at 2 different days. And it lets them know the information that they may need without having to go back and forth to different tabs. And then they can type some data team strengths and areas to strengthen in this data team process, or the next one that's coming up shortly. Again, this is the data team file process 4.0. My name is Chad DeWolf. I'm a teacher with the Madison County School District at Madison County Middle School. Have a great day.